This is the BYD Atto 3. Or at least it's somewhere in that mosh pit behind me. And at this point, I'm guessing most, if not all of you, aren't saying wow, but what? Or who? Because let's face it, BYD isn't exactly a household name in the Indian car market. And even the name, BYD Atto 3, it sounds like something you type into JavaScript, not something you'd expect in a car showroom. But this car right here, it's kind of a big deal. And here's why. Part of the big deal is the battery tech itself. Now, in international markets, this car is available with 50 and 60 kilowatt hour battery packs. India is going to get the bigger option, the 60 kilowatt hour, which is going to have a claimed ARAI rated range of 521 kilometers. The bigger deal here is BYD's own battery technology called the Blade technology, gained a great name for safety as well as being something that's very space efficient by design. Here's the kicker. BYD already introduced this Blade battery technology with their E6 MPV. We've tested it, and by far it is proven to be one of those few electric cars that truly delivers on its claimed range figures, as we've tested it in the real world, and we're hoping to see something similar happen with the Atto 3 as well. And coming a little bit closer, Maruti Suzuki is expected to use this same battery technology as well as Toyota in their upcoming electric vehicle. See? Big deal. Kicker number 2. This thing should have some serious legs on it, because the MG ZS EV, for example, that makes about 280 Newton meters of torque and just under 180 horsepower. And anyone who's driven that will tell you it is quick. The Atto 3, it makes 310 Newton meters of torque and just over 200 horsepower, good for a 0 to 100 time of about 7.3 seconds. That's more output than a Skoda Octavia. So yeah, this thing should be pretty exciting. But one thing I'll also tell you before we go any further is that there is a lot that's also weird in here. Before we get into what's really weird about this car, I have to tell you that the quality is truly impressive. They've gone super generous with the kind of soft touch materials that they've used everywhere. Yes, there is some amount of hard touch plastics, but for the most part, you'd honestly have to look for them. Now, getting to the part that's my favorite, just how weird this car is. Look at the design. This white portion over here, they literally say it's been inspired by the tone of a mussel or a seashell. I don't know. Can you see it? Let me know what you can see in the comment section down below. And even if you look at the blue dash top, it looks like a sea wave that came and got stuck just as the ice age hit. Continue on with that theme, you'll spot that the AC vents, they look either like, I don't know, some kind of quirky Bluetooth speaker or a dumbbell. On the side, what is this? This is the actual door handle. This over here on top of the speaker. On the side,
is inside the car.
Yes, I will, ma'am. On the side, you'll also spot that the door armrest over here looks like a torque wrench. And you also have a lot of other interesting stuff, but one of those highlights that stands out is this. So like the BYD E6, yes, you do have a nice Android-based touchscreen, but over here, it flips, and electrically so. Just one word of warning though, on the side you'll spot that this car does have guitar strings like inserts along with these speakers, and that while it might look really nice and cool, it may not be the favorite item for someone who has kids.
Not that those kids or adults will be lacking for stuff to play with that panoramic sunroof letting in the light for you to see the powered front seats, multicolor ambient lighting, wireless phone charger, and small but functional digital instrument cluster. There are also leatherette seats, an 8-speaker music system, and that touchscreen does support both CarPlay and Android Auto. There's no variant range, so everything is standard, including safety tech like a 360-degree camera with a recorder that basically gives you dash cam functionality, tire pressure monitoring, 7 airbags including a far side airbag that deploys between the front passengers, and the full ADAS suite that includes adaptive cruise control, lane keeping aid and departure warning, auto emergency braking, and blind spot monitoring.
And now let's talk about the rear seat, and long story short, I'm really happy over here. The sense of space that you get from this back seat is incredible. You have a great view out, and even with these plus-sized front seats, you don't really feel like your view out is getting blocked in. The biggest advantage that you have with the Atto 3 is that it's a very wide car. So sitting back over here, I can easily imagine 3 average-sized adults fitting in quite easily, especially because you do have a nice and flat floor down over here. And yes, with me seated over here with my height of 6.5 feet, the headroom may not look all that impressive, but honestly speaking, I'm not starving for it. For somebody of an average height, no problem at all. And even with a 6-foot tall driver up ahead, you still have knee room to spare. So yeah, pretty good place to be in. The only real thing that stands out as a disadvantage for me is that, like you've seen in a lot of electric SUVs, the floor, or rather the proximity of the floor to the seat base, it's a bit much. So you'll end up sitting in a slightly more knees-up position, especially if you're slightly on the taller side. And that is something that you're going to pick up on if you experience the back seat of the Atto 3. As for amenities, yes, you do have rear AC vents, again with that quirky styling of the dumbbell that we saw earlier. You have Type A and Type C USB chargers along with some storage. You have seat back pockets along with independent device storage back here, 3 independent headrests, as well as a rear armrest with 2 cup holders. Now, as quirky, interesting, as different as the interior may be, on the outside, the Atto 3's design is actually kind of traditional. The design inspiration seems to have been taken from a dolphin with the kind of smooth curves and swoops that you have around it. Take a look up front, you spot these LED headlights with DRLs that double up as the indicators and little LED mustache down the middle. And join me over to the side profile, and you'll find that aside from a nice looking set of 18-inch alloy wheels with aerofoils, you have this ORVM. That's not exactly a unique feature, but here, aside from the puddle lamps and the side view camera, you also have an NFC sensor. So you can use a smart card to basically control the door locks. And over here on the side, you see that there's the charger flap. And aside from charging the vehicle itself, it can effectively turn the car into a power bank. Because yes, like cars like the Kia EV6, this does have vehicle to load capability. For small stuff, so you can charge up your phone, use a coffee maker, something like that. And as we come across the side profile and spot this beautiful looking panoramic sunroof that is an absolute must-have for most of you guys these days, we come over to the rear, where we have this wide band setup for the LED taillight, which definitely looks interesting, good, and most certainly different as well. And since we are at the rear anyway, Gaurav, why don't you join me over here? I'll pop open the powered tailgate. Yes, it is a 5-seater, as we mentioned before. Take a look at the boot, big enough for a couple of large suitcases, 440 or so liters. You also have 60-40 split rear seats. And now that we've spoken about the boot space, there's something I didn't get a chance to investigate earlier. That is, what is underneath the boot floor? Gaurav, come in. So you have a reflective vest and a tire inflator along with a repair kit. Basically, no spare tire, so make of that what you will. So yes, a very sensible and practical electric SUV, and effectively what we're looking at over here is a more premium alternative to cars like the MG ZS EV or Hyundai Kona EV. The only catch being that at the point of recording this video, we don't have a price. Bookings are open at Rs 50,000, and this should be something really promising once we have the dealer network more established. But that's all for now. This was the BYD Atto 3. Like, share, subscribe, and follow us on Instagram as well. Bye-bye.